appreciate you being here today. My name is Zaira Garcia, and I'm the Regional Government Relations Director at Forward.us, leading our work here in Texas. I want to thank Congressman Castro and the members of Congress who came out here today. When the federal government is jailing families and children, the public deserves to know what is happening inside, and that is exactly what these kind of oversight visits are designed to do. I am grateful that members of Congress from across the country came to Texas today to witness what is happening in our community. More than 2,000 people can be held in this facility. Right now, that means jailing mothers and young children with infants. A 2-month-old baby was rushed to the hospital from here just weeks ago with bronchitis. Inhumanely, the family was deported immediately after the child was discharged from the hospital. The children inside have been writing letters with the hope that it will help people understand the horrors of their experience. One child wrote that he misses his friends and his school. Another 14-year-old named Ariana said that ever since arriving to Dilley, there's nothing but sadness and depression. It is hard not to hear those words in the voice of my own child. But you do not have to be a mother or a father to be furious at what our government is doing to these children and what it is doing with our tax dollars. Running this facility costs taxpayers roughly $160 million in just 1 year. Last year, Congress approved an additional $45 billion, that's billion with a capital B, to expand immigration detention across the country. It would cost the same amount to give every child in the U.S. health care through the CHIP program for 2 years. These are the choices Congress is making right now. With this money, warehouses are being built in Maryland, Arizona, Pennsylvania, and Texas. These are being converted into additional detention facilities like Dilley. There is bipartisan opposition to this in our communities. And around the country, voters are rejecting spending money on jailing children and families, and instead are asking for us to fund programs that make life more affordable for working families. The children here wrote letters out of desperation because they have no other option. But we do have a choice. Congress has a choice. And I am grateful to the members who came here today to see this facility firsthand and to continue to lead to bring all the families home. And with that, I want to turn over and thank Congressman Castro for his leadership and introduce him for some remarks.
Thank you, Daira. Thank you to Forward.us. Thank you to Todd Schulte, who came into San Antonio today for this press conference, for their incredible, amazing voice on behalf of immigration reform in this country. Thank you also to Mayor Gina Ortiz-Jones and the City Council for hosting us here at City Hall. We very much appreciate it. I'm Joaquin Castro. I'm very proud to represent our hometown of San Antonio in the U.S. House of Representatives, and was very proud today to go to Dilley to inspect it with several members of Congress, my colleagues who are here today, Democratic Whip Catherine Clark, Sarah Jacobs from California, Nanette Barragan from California, Madeline Dean from Pennsylvania, Jim McGovern from Virginia, and Julia Brownlee also from the Los Angeles area in California as well. I want to speak first to the release of the Gamez Cuellar family. The Gamez Cuellar family should never have been sitting in the Dilley trailer prison. Their story underlies the cruelty, irony, and hypocrisy of the Trump administration's mass deportation policy. We are all thrilled that they have been released. They were ecstatic. They were crying. They were excited to be reunited with their son and brother, Antonio, who was being held separately in Raymondville. But their mom kept asking, what did we do wrong? We followed all the rules. We went to court. We haven't done anything wrong. And we're still sitting here in this place. And so I'm glad that they've been released. And I want to say thank you to every single person in this country who spoke up on their behalf, who made their case an issue for for the country to consider. And it struck a nerve. It struck the conscience of the country, much in the same way that Liam Ramos's case did a month and a half ago. And so, we got a chance to visit with them for about 20 minutes, and they were just very anxious. They felt like their sons had been used in a way because they had gone up to the Capitol and performed in front of at the Congress, and at the same time, they felt like this was a statement, the fact that they were sitting in this prison, that they somehow were not good enough. But when they were released finally, they were very grateful to everyone who spoke up and who worked for their release. And so we're glad that they're out. And just very briefly for me, and then I want to pass it on to our whip, Catherine Clark, I want to speak about the other part of our visit. When I went there first in January, there were 1,100 people there at Dilley. There are now only about 450. And so I'm glad that all of the voices are making a difference. I believe that the public outcry is making a difference, that people are leaving Dilley, that more people are being released. I've said very clearly that my goal is to shut down Dilley. I don't think anybody should be kept in that trailer prison, and most especially children. We met more children today who have been traumatized by the experience. There was, for example, a young boy, 4 or 5 years old, whose parents said that his stomach has gotten swollen, that he has not had a bowel movement in 8 days and has not gotten the proper medical treatment that he needs. We met with 3 pregnant women. One of the women, who was 19 years old, said that the last time she went to the doctor 3 weeks ago, the doctor told her that her baby is not growing, that she needs to eat more. But she said she doesn't get enough to eat at Dilley. And she feels like she's not getting enough medical care for her pregnancy. This is her first pregnancy. And so there are so many stories of people who are suffering, who are traumatized, as much as the young mariachi singers, as much as Liam Ramos, but the public has no idea who they are. And so that's why we keep going back. This was my 3rd inspection of Dilley during this Trump administration. I've been there before, but I'm expecting to go back sometime around March 20th. So we're going to continue working to free our children. We'll, of course, take questions afterwards and everything, but I want to bring up now our Democratic whip, Representative Catherine Clark from Massachusetts.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you to our partners at forward.us, to Todd, to Mayor Gina Ortiz-Jones, to the City Council. We're so grateful to be here. And I especially want to salute my colleagues, but Congressman Castro, for all his work. I am so happy for the Gamez Cuellar family and so grateful to all you have done to shine a light on the brutality that is going on in Dilley, for refusing to let these families and this issue fade into the dark. And the people of Dilley are so fortunate that while their Republican representative is busy dealing with consequences of his choices, you are stepping up and showing what it means to be a public servant. The families I spoke to this morning, I would say, are overwhelmingly in despair. I met with a nursing mom who was separated from her baby when the baby was 2.5 months old. That was 5 months ago. She has not seen him since. I met with a family whose 2-year-old had what looked like a very infected tooth. It has prevented her from eating. She is in pain, but there was no urgency around getting her treatment, despite the fact that just last week, Emmanuel Damas, a Haitian man from Boston, died from not receiving treatment for an infected tooth while being detained in Arizona. I wanted to share the brief thoughts of a note that was handed to me from a little girl I am 9 years old. We've been here for 9 months. I really miss playing with my toys and my watch. When will we get out of here? I want to go back home. All of my friends left. I miss all of them. Why can't we be released like them? Every day we see people leave, but not us. I want to get out and eat pizza and bananas. I really want to go to school. I miss my friends. I miss my sister. I really miss my mom's food. Please get us out of here. From a 9-year-old girl. And we know that this is just part of a larger weaponization of ICE and Border Patrol. The roving patrols of masked agents, the warrantless searches, the assault and arrest and imprisonment of law-abiding citizens and non-citizens alike, the use of deportation as a weapon against those who dare to protest or maybe write a college op-ed, the outright murder of people in the streets of America, all of it part of a systematic effort to expand the power of one person and narrow the freedoms of everyone else. Trump wants to bring the horrors in this facility to more communities across the country, but the American people are speaking loudly and clearly, and they are saying no more. We've run Kristi Noem out of Washington, but now we need to clean up what she left behind. We're going to hold the line and fight for a funding bill that enacts real reforms. We're going to stop the killings. We're going to bring these families the dignity and safety that they're owed. And we're going to bring the perpetrators of this abuse to accountability. We will bring an end to this state-sanctioned terror in Congress. And we are so grateful again to everyone who was able to join us from colleagues around the country, and it is now my pleasure to turn over the podium to Representative Madeleine Dean from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Good evening, my name is Madeleine Dean. I represent suburban Philadelphia, Montgomery and Berks counties, and I'll come back to Berks and Schuylkill counties in a moment. I serve on the Appropriations and Foreign Affairs Committee, so I was interested just a little bit in what is the United States government spending on this facility. I could not get numbers while we were in the facility. I looked it up online, and I concur with your numbers. $13 million a month is being charged to the United States government to operate Dilley, according to online. I will dig deeper and make sure I have the facts. That's tens of thousands per person who is housed there. What we saw today, it's simply un-American. All I can say, and all I could say there was, we are better than this. More than 400 people there. They said 99 of whom are children who are anxious, fearful, not getting the medical or mental attention they deserve. A woman, 32, who also showed her stomach most distended. She's been to the medical unit. She's been vomiting. She's now vomiting blood. They said she needs to just calm down. Somebody else, they said, to treat anxiety, eat more calories to treat your anxiety. When we were taken into the education unit, this place has been reopened since March, folks. We asked, how many teachers do you have? 1. How often do the kids come in here? Well, we've really just started up the education unit a week ago because of a court order. And when I asked the administrator, how many people work here, employed by Core Civic, a for-profit New York Stock Exchange business, more than 600 people work there. And they thought it appropriate to have a single teacher, 1 teacher, no educational facilities. There were also, I think, 50 or more ICE agents, and in addition, the Texas National Guard. But the people who are there, they are fearful. They are from Russia, Egypt, Colombia, Honduras, Venezuela, other countries that I'm not even coming across right now. What we saw there was, actually the educational unit was a joke, but it's not funny. They literally had out on tables buckets for your crayons and paint. They were clean as a whistle because they were bought very, very recently. When Nanette Barragan opened up The crayons that they were showcasing, not a crayon had been used. They were perfect. I said, I've got 7 grandchildren. If my 7 grandchildren were in here for 7 minutes, you would have seen the evidence of kids having fun. So they staged it for us. And they had no concern. They staff it up to more than 600 people and no education to traumatize children and then steal the joy of a chance at an education? Are you kidding me? So I'll bring it back to what I believe Joaquin Castro deserves tremendous credit for bringing us here, for being here so many times, for being sure that we will shine a light and you will all report the truth of this un-American behavior in a trailer jail, a human warehouse. They're trying to bring it to my counties, Berks and Schuylkill County. They just bought a 520,000 square foot empty warehouse in Berks County that they want to use as a processing center. I said, not on my watch. You're not going to process human beings through here. It's another detention center. And hopefully my governor will stand, I know my governor will stand with us on that. What we saw was incredibly un-American. We have to stop this administration from the lawlessness. We didn't see the worst of the worst. We saw the sweetest of the sweetest. These children so fearful, wanting an education, missing their families, missing their moms, their sisters, their aunts, their cousins. What we saw is un-American, and it must be stopped. I thank Joaquin Castro. I thank my colleagues for the privilege of being in your company. And I thank you to the city of San Antonio for welcoming us here.
Well, hi everybody, I'm Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs. I'm proud to represent San Diego, a very proud border community. So we know better than most that the border is not a scary or dangerous place to live. Much like here in Texas, our border community is vibrant, it is resilient, it is diverse, it is innovative. It's full of potential and full of possibilities. I'm so grateful to my colleague Joaquin Castro for bringing us here and for all of the incredible work that he's done to get the Gamez Cuellar family home, to get Liam home. The Gamez Cuellar family did everything right. They did. They had claimed asylum. They were found to have credible fear. They attended every single one of their check-ins, and they still got sent to Dilley. I wish I could tell you that their story was unique, that they were the only ones that this happened to and we were able to get them out. But that's not true. We met so many families who had such similar stories, who came here legally, who claimed asylum, who had TPS, who went to their check-ins, who did everything right. I've been to my fair share of detention facilities. The desperation of the people that we met today was overwhelming. They weren't criminals. They had followed the rules. They were breastfeeding mothers. They were families. They were children. And they were torn away from everything they know and stuck in a place where, frankly, the staff was pretty callous, the food was pretty gross, and the hope was pretty limited. And I'm sure that DHS is going to put out some press release after this about how every single person we talked to there was a criminal. But you know what? I actually don't care what their parents did. No kid deserves to be in these conditions. I have nieces and nephew who are the same age as many of the kids we met. And the idea that these kids are in this place where they are miserable. Every single family we spoke to talked about their kids having anxiety and depression, how they couldn't eat food, they couldn't go to the bathroom, all because of this place, because of what the United States government is doing to them. I am heartbroken that we are here. I'm heartbroken that we have to stand here. I'm heartbroken that basically you have to have a compelling story and members of Congress to take interest in you and the media take interest in you to even have a chance at getting out these days. It shouldn't be this way. We should have a fair and humane legal process, and if you follow the rules, you should be allowed to stay. But that's not what's happening. These people are following the rules. They are not criminals, and they're getting sent to this trailer prison instead. We need to shut down Dilley. The U.S. government should not be inflicting trauma on children or families. They shouldn't be suffering. They do not belong in prison. The American people do not support ICE and Border Patrol terrorizing people and sticking them in cages or worse, killing them. Thanks to the American people, we got rid of Kristi Noem, and now we need to channel that anger and focus into shutting down Dilley and saving these children. Thank you. I'll now turn it over to the mayor of San Antonio and our host, Mayor Gina Ortiz-Jones.
Well, good afternoon. I want to echo my thanks to Representative Castro for his continued leadership and certainly for bringing this delegation to see firsthand what is happening just a short while from here. This is something obviously that is not only top of mind in our community because of the proximity, but also because ICE recently purchased a large warehouse in our community, the largest industrial warehouse in the entire city. And to this day, the city of San Antonio nor my office has received any word from ICE regarding what is going to take place at that facility. And when we hear the firsthand accounts of what was reported today, frankly, what many would call child abuse, right? To think that that is happening already and to think that that could happen in our own community again, should raise concerns, serious concerns about the lack of transparency and what may take place in our city. So I wanted to come today and lend my support, certainly for their efforts to draw attention to what is happening there, but then also connect the dots to what may happen in our own community if that facility is funded, which is why I signed a letter a couple of weeks ago saying, please do not support any legislation that funds that facility. Don't do it. Some people have called this a jobs opportunity. When you hear these stories about how those young people are being treated, those are not the kinds of jobs and investment that our community needs. People should be treated with dignity and with respect, and we need that representative, and well, he's not going to be there much longer, so now you know who I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, our community deserves better. And everybody in our community, as was alluded to, regardless of their status, deserves to be treated with dignity and with respect. So again, my thanks to Representative Castro, to all the members of Congress that came to see firsthand for themselves, and will now apply this not only to their voting record, but also to those appropriations decisions. Thank you, and thank you to Forward US for your work.
My name's Todd Schulte, and we'll open it up for questions here in a second. I just want to tie together a couple quick things. And for people who are watching, for people who are here, I would ask all of us to think, how would you explain to the 9-year-old in your life what is happening to a 9-year-old inside Dilley? I would ask all of us, whether it's a niece, whether it's a nephew, whether it's a kid, would you actually want to tell that 9-year-old what it is? If you left home, if you're a reporter, if you were watching online, if you're a policymaker, if you're a teacher, whatever you are you comfortable saying that the United States of America is in the process of trying to increase by 400 or 500% the sorts of warehouse jails that the mayor talked about, the sorts of warehouse jails that these members of Congress all voted against and are holding the line on right now? Are you comfortable with thinking about the sort of country that we will build if we normalize, whether parents have done something wrong or not, to the Congresswoman's point, jailing these children and jailing them so intentionally, cruelly, that it may send some message to someone else? And in the process of there will be crayons that are fake, there will be one teacher perhaps provided, but there will be profit in the case here. And that is not the country that we need to have. It is not the immigration system that we need to have. And for the many, many problems and the challenges that we face ahead, can we start by saying we do not need to expand this system of punishment in ways we have never seen before? And can we simply say that Dilley needs to close and needs to close now? And that is something to me that I think it is so important the members of Congress are here, and they are doing two really important things. They are showing up. It is not specific to the voting yay or voting nay to go to a prison or to a jail. It is not specific to it, but it is showing up and it is bearing witness, and it is having a huge consequence, to the point that the congressman made. And there are 400 plus more people in Dili than there should be, but there's 600 fewer people than there will be today. And as we think about the efforts to grow this around the country, that showing up and that bearing witness is so important. And we can all do that. We can all go to a town hall. We can all volunteer. We can all help out in our ways. And I think that is such an important message, that there's a family who's going to have a little bit more dignity and certainty tonight because of the people up here, because of the people around the country who spoke out for them. So I think that's so important. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And we will open it up for questions.
Congressman Castro, how long was the Gamez Cuellar family in detention, and what led to their release today? Was it public pressure? Was it something your office did or other delegates assisted with?
My understanding is that they were taken in around February 25th when they showed up for their latest ICE appointment. And they had been reporting regularly and showing up regularly, and then this time the whole family was taken in. And the father described the devastation and trauma of seeing his 18-year-old son, who's still in high school, being shackled on his arms and legs and being taken away from the family. And he started crying, telling that story, and so did their mom. I think that this was an ensemble effort. I think it was everybody speaking up and speaking out about this. And earlier I said that there was an irony and a hypocrisy and a cruelty to it. The great irony and hypocrisy here is that these young men were good enough to perform at the United States Capitol building, that they were not considered any kind of security threat to our country. And they go from that last summer, less than a year ago, to sitting in a trailer prison with their parents. And so I just want to thank everybody who spoke up, and also everybody who's covered this story, the news media, the content creators, everybody who was able to shine a light on their story.
Congressman, of the 400 or so, how many would you say are children? And also, Monica De La Cruz, who represents McAllen, said that today is not about politics. She voted for one big, beautiful bill, which gave tens of millions of dollars to fund ICE detention. So I wonder what your answer is to that.
Our understanding, I believe the number they told us was 99 children are there out of the 400 and something folks. So still an incredible number of children. When I first went, there were hundreds of children. I'm glad to see that that number is now lower. With respect to the big beautiful bill, that was $150 billion extra dollars for the Department of Homeland Security, $75 billion for ICE, above and beyond their annual budget. And we don't need to be spending that kind of money on this kind of brutality. There's a brutality that people see out on the streets that we saw in Minneapolis, Los Angeles, Chicago. There is a brutality behind those prison walls that people don't see. And that's why we keep going back again to shine a light on it.
So given the fact that there is a lot less people right now from the time that you first visited, how hopeful are you right now that actually your statements have been, it has to close, it has to shut down? How, seeing that it is less and less and less, how hopeful are you that that thing actually is going to shut down?
I'm very encouraged and I'm very hopeful. And we're not going to stop until we get every child out of there. And no child, if each of you toured that place, inspected that place, I believe that all of you would come to the same conclusion. You don't have to have children to believe that, but those who do have children and who have had young kids, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, to see kids suffering that way really strikes you. And so we're going to keep going until we get this thing closed.
Last time you said you were there was 1,100 people.
Yep.
When was that visit, and what do you think the reason for the drop in people is?
That was sometime around January 25th or so, mid to late January. And, look, I'd like to think that it is all the public pressure, that it's the fact that so many folks have been shining a light on what goes on at Dili, that the American people, by and large, cannot stand that kids would be imprisoned like that and treated that way. So whatever the reason, I'm encouraged that the number has gone down from that first visit in January to now, from 1,100 to 450.
Representative Monica de la Cruz helped get Antonio out in Raymondville. Is that true? Is that accurate?
I have not spoken to Monica, but yeah, I trust if somebody told me that she said that she reached out to different folks. I trust that if she says she did that she did that.
So did you have any input into Antonio's situation as well?
Earlier in the week, I had spoken with his lawyer, their lawyer, who was out of Florida, and then they eventually got lawyers in Texas who were working on a writ of habeas corpus. And so my office was talking to everyone. We also were talking to the family for a few days before I made a comment, because I wanted to make sure I had everything right before we commented on this case. And so I'm glad they're out. I'm glad that everybody's out, and I'm glad that the family's reunited.
It's pretty unprecedented that Republicans take part in this way to get anyone out of ICE detention. Can you speak about that?
Yeah, I mean, we have invited Republicans to come with us on these inspections and have not gotten many takers. This was a very specific case for Monica, because not only was it in her congressional district, but the reason that I got to meet those young men last summer was at the invitation of Monica de la Cruz, because they were there to perform at her invitation at the Congress. And so I think it was very directly related to her. And so I'm glad that she was able to get involved with the case.
Mayor Jones,
Jones.
I had a question for the mayor.
Yeah,
You
please.
said they've already purchased a building in San Antonio.
That's correct.
Now, are there any code problems with those buildings, or is there any way to, since there's going to be child abuse in that building, is there a way for the city code to shut that down?
So there's a couple of things that, as we work with the city attorney's office and the city council reviews our options. It is a little bit different because we're in Texas and we have SB4 that is also shaping what is in the realm of possible here. Now, if this was a private entity, it would be different. But again, we recognize that because it's a federal actor involved here, some of those things could be completely waived. If not severely truncated. So, at the end of the day, we are looking at all that we can do, but I want to say the solutions are not at the city level. The solutions are at the federal level. Again, what we are doing are frankly, kind of doing what we can, but there even a moratorium, which was under review of non-municipal detention facilities, at max, that would last 6 months, right? So again, the solutions that are needed are at the federal level.
You said it's a federal issue, but aren't these for-profit companies?
So our understanding is the owner of this facility would be ICE. Yeah.
Congressman, what's the demeanor of the Gamez Cuellar family since they've been released?
They were absolutely, they were tearful, very emotional, but just elated and very grateful. And they did ask for us to pass along how appreciative they are of everybody. They didn't have a full sense of how much everybody had spoken up, what kind of story this had become. So when we met, it was a little bit of deja vu and ironic for me, because I met with them on the same bench in the same room that I met with Liam and his dad in January. And so to see another group of young kids sitting there, another family sitting there 6 weeks later, or whatever it's been, was just strange for me. But they're excited and they're very happy to be back. My staff was driving them to Alice, Texas, to reunite with their son Antonio in Alice, and then they were going to make their way home.
And the father on his way leaving the bus. It just showed you such contrast. I think they were a little shell-shocked. I don't think they got notice that they were being released much more than maybe 45 minutes to an hour before their actual release. And one of the final things he said was he was worried about that 4-year-old boy who had not had a bowel movement in the 8 days that he had been there. He showed compassion for a child in that facility, even as he was just regathering his own family. Would that the people at Dilley showed that same compassion.
Do we know why they were released, unlike the other families that are still there?
I mean, look, I think it's no secret that the more public, the bigger outcry, the more people get involved, the public gets involved. I think, quite honestly, it gives people a better chance of getting out. I think that's just the truth. And that's why we have tried to tell the stories also of folks who were never photographed with a Spider-Man backpack or a blue cap or didn't perform in a mariachi at the Capitol, because their lives are just as valuable and their stories, if you go listen to them, are just as compelling and their trauma is just as real. And so, we're going to keep it up.
So it doesn't end here though, right? I mean, they still have an ongoing legal case.
They still have an
case.
Immigration case that's ongoing. That's an asylum case, yeah.
Did the parents have ankle monitors put on them as per usual with ICE?
They didn't tell us that, and I didn't see that. I don't know if anyone else did.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, we didn't notice that. When we had a bus there and had a staff member with a car waiting, but they came on the bus with us for about 10 or 15 minutes. We had bought some H-E-B sandwiches, and so we gave them some sandwiches to eat, and they ate and had a Coke and stuff, and then we walked over to the car and and said goodbye, and they were just excited to be on the road to get with their son. All right, y'all, one more, and then we folks got to catch flights and stuff.
We're doing a story on the Ruben Martinez story, so
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you one question. With the recent release of records on the shooting death of Ruben Martinez, do you think the case should be re-examined?
I absolutely think that Ruben Martinez's case should be re-examined. I don't believe the video shows what the government claims it does, and he was killed, and there should continue to be an investigation of it. And the United States Congress also should take a look at that case. All right, thank y'all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.